see you, Coach. Congrats. We'll ask Coach Beard to open things up with a few thoughts, then we'll take some questions. Coach.
Well, first, I just want to, on behalf of everybody in our program, like our staff and our players and our coaches, just recognize what a great run tournament this is. You know, it's everything I thought of as like a young coach coming up. What would the Final Four be like? So everything's first class. The NCAA's nailed this for the student-athlete experience, and just what a great city, too. We're just enjoying everything about our time here. And so I just wanted to recognize that. And we're looking forward to playing on this stage. In our opinion, Michigan State's one of the best teams in college basketball. They have great players and a Hall of Fame coach. We have nothing but respect for their program and the things they stand for. We're in our third year of building our program at Tech, and we're striving to be in the same conversation of the Michigan States of the world. So, simply stated, we feel like we'll have to play our best game of the year to have some success on Saturday night, but I don't think that's much different than anybody else in this tournament. That's our objective, and we're looking forward to the opportunity to play well on Saturday.
We have a few questions in already, Coach. Let's start up front to the left. Adam.
Hey, Chris. Adam Zagoria, how you doing? Congratulations. No one-and-done players here at the tournament. Obviously, Duke and Kentucky are out, but there's a lot of talented college players and future pros, guys like Jarrett and DeAndre Hunter. What have you seen in Jarrett's development from freshman to sophomore year, and does the fact that there are no one-and-dones here say anything larger about that way of recruiting?
We might have a couple of one-and-done graduate assistants. We had a couple of issues with our breakfast this morning, so I think there's so many just beautiful things about college basketball, and certainly, like, we've had some great four-year players. I thought Keenan Evans was the best player in the Big 12 last year, one of the best in the country, and helped us get to the Elite Eight. And I think college basketball associates with those guys. And then there's the iconic coaches in our game, like Coach Izzo, that kind of transcend any player. It's about Coach Izzo and the player. And then, but I've always seen the value in the one and done too. I think college basketball is better because of Zaire Smith playing at Texas Tech. But I think in this tournament, I would agree with that. There's some identities with these four teams. I think that's what these four teams are, teams. I had my chance to watch Virginia and Auburn a lot just by being a fan, and now I've certainly watched every game Michigan State's played to this point. But I think one thing that these four teams have in common is I think they are teams. The identity of each team, I think, is the balance of different players, not just one star player. So I think this Final Four is great for college basketball and has a chance to be, one of the best in terms of the 3 games played.
Up front on the right side, Rob.
How you doing, Chris? Rob Doster, NBC Sports. Can you just take me through when the first time, do you remember the first time you met Mark Adams and why you kind of targeted him on your staff with Little Rock?
Mark Adams isn't a national name, but those of us in Texas and especially in small college, junior college, Division II circles, recognize Coach as one of the best guys that ever did it in our part of the country. My personal relationship started with Coach Adams when I was an assistant at Texas Tech, and he was living in Lubbock, coaching at Howard Junior College in Big Spring. And we just developed a friendship. We talked basketball a lot. He would come to the Tech practices. I would go to his practices and recruit players at Howard. Then we started a personal friendship. We're both big movie guys. Like I spent my whole career going to the late movie. Like I'm that guy at the 10:30 movie where I'm the only person there. And I actually ran into Coach Adams a few times. It really wasn't about the movie. It was about just the release of turning your phone off and sitting somewhere for 2 hours. So Coach and I shared that. We'd literally go to the movies 2 or 3 times a week together. I got screwed every time. I'm sure he'll tell some of y'all different, but I had to pay for the tickets and the concessions. He would always tell me that he forgot his wallet in the car and that kind of deal. But Coach Adams had success at every level. He's been a head Division I coach. He's won a national championship in junior college. He's in several Hall of Fames in small college. He's got a great defensive mind. He thinks outside the box. He doesn't like what happened he doesn't let what happens in the game currently impact his thinking. There's only a few guys in our game like that can think of things that aren't already going on. Most people in college basketball, I think, steal things from the NBA. Coach Adams comes up with his own mind. there's a lot of people that have the information in their mind, but what makes Coach Adams special is he can communicate it to others, whether it be the staff or the players. He's the most disciplined guy I've ever known, but he's also a player's coach. He's one of the best coaches in college basketball, and I'm proud to stand on this stage and sit on this stage and talk about him. People ask about Texas Tech defense and what's going on in Lubbock. Coach Mark Adams has a big part in what's going on. Yeah, so we normally go to the movies, and there might be 3 or 4 people there, and we kind of sit next to each other because we talk basketball. We got there one night. We were going to go to the 10:35 show at the Cinemark 16. It really didn't matter what the movie was, but the only movie left was Sex and the City. I remember kind of looking at him, and I'm like, man, I don't know about this, Coach. He kind of looked around. He's like, man, there's only 3 cars in the parking lot. That's Bill who runs the place, and I think that car's been there for 2 weeks. That's why. All right, well, let's go see Sex and the City. So this was the only time that we didn't sit right next to each other at the 10:35 movie. So we thought we were good, but then right before the lights went down, about 4 or 5 other people walked in the movie theater. So me and Coach, we felt a little insecure, but I'm actually not against Sex and the City. I thought it was a great show. It was at HBO. My oldest daughter watched it. Carrie and Big. My oldest daughter goes to Columbia University now, which is in the city. So we see some of the things. So I'm not against Sex and the City. I'm just against going to the 10:35 movie with another friend of mine and watching Sex and the City.
Coach, we'll go all the way back to the left of the aisle.
Chris, Luke DeCock, Raleigh News and Observer. You mentioned the Final Four and the amenities and all that. I'm wondering if you could reflect on how far that is from Myrtle Beach and what you remember from your time there, sort of in that coaching sojourn.
Yeah, it's like tell the guys to never forget where they come from and be you, and certainly a part of my journey that's being documented now, and I'm proud of it, is I wouldn't trade my path in coaching for anything. So whether it be junior college or the ABA or small college, very, very blessed to be here and feel like I represent a lot of people on this stage that have coached at schools that are really good coaches, that have coached great players, that never had the chance under these lights. And I hope coaches around there are finding some satisfaction in this. And, you know, for that young coach out there like me that sat in the open practice for 22 years and dreamed about being there, you know, don't give up. You know, keep at it. This game's bigger than any of us. This game's not about your predicate. It's basketball, man. If you keep doing it, the game will give you a chance at some point. You know, don't give up. And just a few years ago, you know, I was in the ABA or D2, and you know, so that's a special part about this, and I don't take that lightly. I've even talked to my team about it. In terms of the difference in hotels, I mean, it's not just about those years. It's about when I was an assistant. You come to the Final Four and you don't have a room, and so you just beg one of your buddies that's in Division I to crash on your floor. So I've been in a lot of rooms where it's you know, 2 guys in each bed. Without the comforters, because you got 2 more people on the floor with the comforters, and then 1 maybe in the bathtub with the pillows. We put 8 deep before in a Marriott Courtyard, I promise you. The problem is in the mornings with the towel situation, because, you know, I'm not really a big believer. I mean, I guess I'll share a bar of soap if you wash it really good, but I'm not sharing a towel with any other man, you know. So, but we used to come to the Final Fours and bring our own towels. True story.
On the right side to the right of the aisle.
David Collier from the ABC in Lubbock. Along those lines, you have the message up in the locker room, smell the roses for the guys. It's clear, I think you're doing that, but how do you let them do that and then after this, get out there and shut that off since you're doing it a couple days in a row?
Well, this is what we've done all year. This is who we are. We have a process we believe in that includes a lot of things. Our culture, academic piece, basketball, weight room, individuals, shooting, nutrition, fuel the body, study the game in the film room, embrace team practice, get extra shots up, faith, family, balance. This is our process, and one of our processes has always been balance, enjoying life. Like, we never want to be the team that just, you know, doesn't enjoy a victory, so we have a 12-hour rule. We don't ever want to be the team that doesn't enjoy the great cities we get to go to. This year we played Duke in Madison Square Garden. We enjoyed New York City. We went and played pickup at Rucker Park. We ate ridiculously priced food. We walked around the skulls of the garden and see all the great performers that have played there, we're going to enjoy life. I mean, we're going to enjoy the ride. It's who we are. But when it's time to play, it's time to play. And when it's time to practice, it's time to practice. So we just got a two-part mission here: smell the roses, but also be us. And be us is just 4 letters and 2 words to mean let's ride the bus that got us here. Let's try to be disciplined and prepared, and let's practice really hard today. Let's get some shots up at night at some local high school gym. And but I think you can do both. As a young coach, I work for some great guys, but I remember a couple times winning a big game, you get back on a bus and it's like a morgue, you know, like why don't we celebrate what we just did? And it takes a certain maturity to play for us, because as a player, we want to be able to have a relationship with you and enjoy life, but we want you to understand that we're here to win too, period, every game. And this group has embraced that more than anything. These seniors, I've had more fun with this team than any team ever, but also when it's time to go to war, you know, we've done well.
Center of the room, Paul.
Paul Woody, Richmond Times-Dispatch. Coach, Tariq Owens began his career at Tennessee. Coaching changed. He goes to St. John's, likes that a lot, graduates, comes to your place. You've certainly, it's well documented, you've moved around a lot. People seem to have an image that college basketball should be a freshman signs, plays 4 years, graduates, goes on with his life. Do you think that's not a realistic assumption and not a realistic way to look at college basketball?
I just don't think that's the world we live in either. I mean, who of you have been at your current situation for year after year? I mean, you know, opportunity comes in different forms. You know, as coaches, we don't, you know, make the rules. You just got to learn how to succeed with them. So the transfer rules, the grad transfer rule, that's really not up to me. That's way over my head. I just simply try to learn the rules and go compete in the world we're in. A lot of times it's misleading. I mean, Tariq was totally committed to Tennessee. He had a coaching change. And then at St. John's, he had earned his degree and was looking for another opportunity. So I think each story is completely different. I don't think you can say too many guys are transferring this and that. Each situation is different. You know, for Tariq, I'll tell you this, he showed a lot of loyalty. Al Pinkins had coached Tariq at Tennessee, and Al was our connection to get Tariq once he declared that he wanted to be a grad transfer. After Tariq had made his decision to come to Tech, or in the process, Al went to the University of Florida. We hated to lose Al, but we understood the move for his own reasons. And so first time I talked to Tariq, I said, Tariq, this is a relationship-based business. I understand, you know, if you want to follow Al or if you want to open it back up. And Tariq said, no, I made a commitment to the program, and I'm going to come to Texas Tech. So that's one example of many of Tariq's commitment.
On the right side, third row.
Chris Solari from the Detroit Free Press. Coach, you, in being around the Texas basketball circles, you probably have known or seen Matt McQuaid. I don't know how much you saw him coming up through the ranks, but can you kind of assess what you saw from him, and then also both him and Aaron Henry as defenders on the wing? As a defensive-minded coach, what do those two present as a challenge?
Yeah, McQuaid's special. He's gotten better over his college career, which is a direct relationship with the Michigan State program, and their players develop. You know, if they get a 5-star, he's a 5.5-star 6 months later. And if coach gets a 4-star, they're in the NBA 2 years later. I mean, just Michigan State players get better. The player development, although I've never had the opportunity or pleasure to maybe go watch what they do on a day-to-day basis, you don't have to. Guys are getting better, and he's a great example of that. Being a Texas kid, we're happy for him. I pull for all guys from our state, and his father's somebody that I know and respect. So he's turned himself into a great defensive player. I think earlier in his year, maybe what might have been perceived as a weakness is now a strength. He's very, very competitive. He's got good foot speed, in my opinion. He can test shots. He takes charges. He's one of the best defenders I think I've seen all year on film. And I would echo that with their other perimeter players. You know, when you prepare for these games, you get to know this team. I feel like I just know Michigan State more than anybody, from the notes, the articles. To me, it starts with the Blue Ribbon magazine. Then I get to games. Then I make phone calls, and the journey continues. And I still got 2 more days of the journey. But I would tell you that Cassius is a great defender, too. He picks and chooses possessions. He's smart. He plays all those minutes and stays out of foul trouble. But I think he's a very, very good defender well at his position. So we have a lot of respect for all their defensive players. Their team defense speaks for itself. You we're going to have to play great offensively to score a basket.
Second row center.
Sam Blum, AL.com. I'm curious, have you gotten a chance to communicate with Wes Flanagan and just kind of what it's like for you guys both to be at a Final Four now together?
Yeah, that's special. Wes was our associate head coach on our Little Rock team. I would not be here today if it wasn't for Wes Flanagan. We've exchanged some texts, but we haven't seen each other, which is not surprising. This facility is bigger than 25 Super Walmarts put together, But I hope I get a chance to see Wes and give him a hug and tell him how much he's meant to me. And so happy for Auburn's ride. I did get a chance to talk to Coach Pearl a little bit when Wes was in the job interview process or negotiations, and that was not a hard phone call. I just told Coach Pearl he's the best, one of the best I've ever worked with, and I'm glad it's worked out for both those guys. And to see Wes coaching on this stage where he belongs is special. I have a lot of respect for Wes Flanagan.
5 more minutes. We'll try to get 3 questions. Dan?
Hey, Chris, Dan Wolken, USA Today. Your players talk about you coach them hard and that they like to be coached hard. I'm just curious, sort of, how do you find that line of how hard to coach them in an era where, not all players want to be coached that way, and maybe some might take that the wrong way?
Well, that line's really easy to define. That line's called trust. And I've always said great players want a coach they can trust. And basically what trust is you keep your word. You're very clear about what's going to happen and what your expectations are and what you're going to do and what they're going to do and what you're going to do together, and you keep your word. Coaches are no different. We want players we can trust. Who's going to block out late in the game? Who's going to go to class on Tuesday morning when you're tired? And who's going to walk away when there's a bad call? It's all about trust. And so with us, we feel like we have trust between our players. How do you develop trust? It's relationships. The challenge in our teams, is, we're fighting time with Tariq and Matt. They're one-year players. You got to get that relationship quickly, and that's where our retreat and our individual meetings and just our culture and things play into this. But, we make no bones about it. We do coach our guys hard, but I've never coached a good player that didn't want to be coached hard, ever. And I think about that all the time. I can't name one guy that I've ever coached who was an all-conference player, a pro at any level I've coached, that didn't want us to bring it. I don't promise our guys a lot in the recruiting process, but one thing I promise them and look them right in the face is, I will bring it every single day as your coach, and our staff will too. And if there's ever one day where you don't think we're bringing it, you tell me, and problem will be corrected. And I asked this team just the other night, did we keep our word? And they said, yes, you did. So, I love coaching this game, and I love coaching it hard. And, in terms of Michigan State, this is the pinnacle of that. Coach Izzo, to me, he's everything I've always kind of wanted to be. He's a player's coach. Do you see the hugs and the embraces and how he talks about his guys and gets emotional, and these guys like Magic come back and stuff? I mean, he's a player's coach. I don't know Coach Izzo like that, but there's no doubt about it. But then you say he coaches his guys hard. He's on them. He holds them accountable. How do both things happen? I mean, it's trust. It's real relationships, and I would like to think that that's what we're building at Texas Tech as well.
We're going to try for 2 more. Center of the room.
Coach Eddie Pels with AP. Last year we were sitting here with Villanova talking about how you have to make threes to win big in college basketball. This year, at least three of the teams here are big on defense, and I just wanted to know, why did you choose that defense to be kind of the personality of your team? Was it a personality thing, or was it just the easiest way to win, or both?
That's just me. Like, I grew up in Irving, Texas, and we played 2 places, Northwest Park and Conflans, and you get there on a Saturday morning, and there are about 25 people, and I was never the guy that the next team was going to pick. My chance to play was, it's my game, I wait, and then when it's my turn, I try to pick the best 4 players, or actually the best team, the guys I think can help us win, because if I lose, I'm done. And so to win on that park, you got to play defense. You can't win on a foul either, so we foul a lot the last possession. Doesn't work at this level, but myself as a player, as a guy that understood I had to play defense. My high school coach, or one of them, Mike Kunstad, who's a Texas legend, he's enjoyed this Final Four experience. Somebody interviewed him the other day, and it was on the news, and my daughter showed me. I don't watch a lot of stuff this time of year, but I do watch what my daughters put in front of me. But I'm thinking, there's Coach Kunstad. He's on the live news in Dallas, and they're about to talk about my career. And I know a lot of you guys probably don't know much about my playing career. So I'm like, man, this is the chance. Coach is going to say something about that 25-point game or this or that. And what he says is, Chris was a good player. One time against South Grand Prairie, he took 5 charges in a game. So that was my claim to fame as a player, I guess, from coach's eyes. But then certainly, with Danny Casper, my first job, and Tom Penders, a defensive coach in terms of traps and speeding you up, and Coach Knight, I think one of the best defensive coaches in the history of our game. It's just been my upbringing in basketball, both as a player and coach, and it's just kind of who we are. It's in our DNA. It's our identity, and it'll never change. I mean, we're always going to be a team that tries to guard.
We'll wrap things up on the left side with Blair.
Chris, Blair Kirkhoff with the Kansas City Star. Just you saw us talking to Gerald Myers out there. Have you seen him enjoy this ride, and what does he mean to you?
It means everything. And yes, I have seen it, and I'm smelling the roses on that one too. And Coach Myers is a legend in Lubbock, Texas. He was a great player at Texas Tech. He was a championship coach. He was an athletic director that got Texas Tech into the Big 12 and all the benefits of today. And then he's been just a great friend. They always say the retired coach, is he going to get in your huddle, or is he going to try to, but Coach is perfect, the perfect balance. He's there. He helps us with basketball. He comes to practice, but I've never felt 1 inch of him making anybody feel uncomfortable. It's just been a special friendship. It's one of the top things that's happened to me in my time back in Lubbock is my relationship with Coach Myers. I'm so appreciative of him, everything he did before he even knew me, and everything he continues to do. As a kid growing up in Dallas, I only had a chance to go to 1 basketball camp because the rules in Texas in the time, you couldn't go to camp after you'd played varsity basketball. So when I was around 8th or 9th grade, I had 1 chance to go to camp, and the camp I chose was Texas Tech. I had never been to Lubbock before, but they ran an ad in the Irving Daily News, and I saw it and saved my money and got on a Southwest Airline flight and went to Lubbock. And that's the first time I got a chance to meet Coach Myers. And, I won the Hot Shot camp, and they ran out of trophies. And I was so pissed off. I wrote letters. There was no internet, and long-distance phone calls were about 60 cents a minute. So I wrote a bunch of letters to the Texas Tech office saying, where's my Hot Shot trophy, and never got it. Years later, I get the job with Coach Knight, but I got to walk in my lane. It's not my role as an assistant to ask Gerald Myers, the AD, where my trophy is. So I bit my tongue for 10 more years. Then I went off and kind of made my basketball run 5 years later. So finally, when I got the Texas Tech head job, I feel like I have the guts to ask Coach Myers where my trophy is. So shortly after the press conference, when they announced as head coach, I shook a few hands and I went right to Coach. I explained the story and stuff and told him I'm not pissed off, but kind of upset. 30-something years later, I still hadn't got my trophy. We all laughed about it. Story over, right? No, about 4 days later, Coach comes to my office and he has my 1980-something Hot Shot trophy from the Gerald Myers basketball camp. So Gerald Myers, truth teller, real guy, and will admit when he made a mistake and didn't give me my trophy and pay me back years later. That's Gerald Myers.
We want to thank Coach Beard for joining us here in the main interview room. Thank you, Coach. We'll see you back again tomorrow.